Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Spring is finally here, and with it comes the age-old question, what kind of weather can we expect? In this video, I'm going to be diving into some actual weather omens that have been used for centuries to predict the spring weather. We'll be looking at things like the behavior of animals, specific plant blooms, and even cloud formations, all to help you get a better idea of what the next few months might bring. Let's get started. Hey everyone, and welcome. Let's dive into some fascinating weather superstitions associated with spring. We'll explore some age-old beliefs about what the weather in spring might mean, and some specifically tied to the month of March. Spring, that magical time of renewal and rebirth, has always been a time of intense observation for those who believed in the power of weather omens. For centuries, people have looked to the skies, the ground, and even the behavior of animals to predict what the coming months might hold. One common belief is that a particularly warm and sunny spring signals a bountiful harvest. Conversely, a cold and wet spring was often seen as a harbinger of poor crops and difficult times ahead. Think about it, a long, cold spring could delay planting, leading to a smaller yield. This isn't just superstition, it's rooted in practical observation passed down through generations. Another interesting belief centers around the behavior of birds. An early arrival of migratory birds was often interpreted as a sign of an early and warm spring, while a late arrival suggested the opposite. This makes sense, as birds are incredibly sensitive to changes in temperature and food availability. Their migration patterns are directly influenced by the weather, making them, in a way, natural weather predictors. And we can't forget the animals. The groundhog's shadow, famously, is a key part of many spring traditions, with its appearance or absence supposedly predicting the arrival of spring. But there are many other animals whose behaviors were once closely watched. For example, the early emergence of insects was often seen as a positive omen, suggesting a healthy ecosystem and a promising growing season. Now, let's focus specifically on March, a month often associated with unpredictable weather. March, as they say, comes in like a lion and goes out like a lamb. This saying itself reflects the often volatile weather patterns of the month. A stormy and cold start to March was often seen as a sign of a long and challenging spring, while a mild and sunny start was interpreted as a promise of a pleasant and productive season. But the superstitions go beyond just the overall temperature. The direction of the wind, for example, held significant meaning. A strong wind from the north was often associated with cold weather continuing, while a southerly wind suggested warmer temperatures were on their way. Even the amount of rainfall in March was carefully observed. Excessive rainfall was sometimes seen as a negative omen, suggesting potential flooding and crop damage. Conversely, a lack of rainfall could indicate a dry spring and potential drought conditions. These observations, while rooted in superstition, often reflected a deep understanding of the local climate and its impact on agriculture and daily life. People relied on these omens not just for entertainment, but for practical reasons to help them plan their farming activities and prepare for the coming months. The accuracy of these omens, of course, is debatable, but their persistence through time speaks to their importance in the lives of those who believed in them. They offer a fascinating glimpse into the relationship between people and nature, and the ways in which people sought to understand and predict the unpredictable forces of weather. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving deep into the fascinating world of weather omens, specifically those associated with spring. Let's start with April, shall we? April's superstitions are often tied to specific days and numbers. For example, the 1st of April, of course, is April Fool's Day, but beyond the jokes, some believe a sunny day on the 1st predicts a bountiful harvest. Conversely, a rainy 1st might foretell a season of challenges for farmers. Moving on to the 7th, some cultures associate this day with the weather patterns for the entire month. A clear, bright 7th could mean a generally pleasant April, while a stormy 7th might suggest the opposite. And then there's the 12th. The 12th of April is often linked to the arrival of spring birds. If you see a lot of birds on the 12th, it's considered a good omen for the growing season. But if the birds are scarce, it might be a sign of a late or difficult spring. We are talking about more than just robins here, folks, all kinds of birds. The number 15 is another significant date. A warm 15th is said to promise a warm and productive spring, while a cold 15th might signal a longer, colder season ahead. And finally, the 30th. A clear 30th of April is often seen as a positive sign for the coming month of May, hinting at a fruitful and pleasant spring overall. It's a bit like a final check-in before the official start of spring. Now, let's shift our focus to the month of May. May is often associated with its own set of weather-related superstitions. A cold and rainy May is often considered a bad omen for the harvest, potentially leading to crop failure. Conversely, a warm and sunny May is generally seen as a positive sign, promising a bountiful harvest and a prosperous year. The saying "a cold May and a windy June bring forth a good harvest soon" is a popular example of this belief. But it's not just about the overall temperature, the specific weather events also hold significance. For instance, a lot of rain in early May is sometimes interpreted as a sign of a good growing season, while heavy rain later in the month might be seen as less favorable. Similarly, frequent thunderstorms in May can be interpreted in different ways depending on the region and local traditions. Some cultures believe that thunderstorms in May cleanse the land and promote healthy plant growth, while others might view them as a sign of impending hardship. The presence or absence of specific weather phenomena, like fog or frost, can also carry weight in these old traditions. A heavy fog in May, for example, might be seen as a warning of a late spring, while the absence of frost is generally considered a good sign. Remember, these are just traditions and beliefs passed down through generations, offering a fascinating glimpse into the history of weather forecasting and our relationship with nature. Each region and culture has its own unique set of beliefs and interpretations, making this topic endlessly rich and interesting.